Autism is because of sin. And I need you all to stick with me until the end. See, your children not talking, people who are deaf, that anxiety, depression, ADHD, your bad attitude, and your complaining, it's all because of sin. It's the sin that...
Point. So, the obvious thing to say here, which everyone else has already said who's made a stitch on this video, is autism is genetic and it is complete bullshit. But I think everyone said that. It's not the most interesting thing to say. So let's get into what she's actually saying, because at a very surface level, you could just see this as going, autistic people are equals bad. Sin, bad, autistic people, bad. That's not what she's saying. It's worse than that. Okay? She's not even saying that autism is God's punishment for parents behaving badly. It's worse than that. What she is saying in that in a perfect world, in the Garden of Eden, autistic people didn't exist and autistic people shouldn't exist. Now, in later on in other posts, she makes this very clear. She used the post of literally saying that autism is something that we'll read about in the history books. Now, autism being a genetic condition present in about 1 in 33 people, how do we get to this scenario? Well, you do it the same you do any other genocide. You kill all the people, you castrate them, which, again, from the church's point of view, castrating people tends to be frowned upon, like all forms of contraception. So, let's really delve into this. Does she views being autistic as being sick, as being the disorder? Now, I could go on a huge rant about why this is a pathology paradigm concept, and that from a neurodiversity standpoint, humanity thrives off people having different brains. But again, that won't get through. So what she really is getting at here is,
In the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. Now, what is the likeness of God? It is perfect. It's without blemish, without disease, without disorder or sickness. That's why God called humans very good.
so according to her, autistic people are not made in the image of God. Therefore, we are also not really human because, according to her own terms and definitions, humanity is defined in the Christian religion in the fact that it's created in the image of God. Okay. Furthermore, she's made it pretty clear there that she doesn't think it's possible that God could be autistic in the same way that you might imagine somebody in the 19th century refusing to believe that God might not be white. Or we still have people today who refuse to have the concept that God might be gender neutral, for instance. But one thing she does believe is that Jesus can heal the autistics and make them neurotypical. Of course, fundamentally, what that means is that we will no longer exist as ourselves, because this is actually a bigger question I have about Christian theology. Even if I bow down at the foot of God and go, yep, perfectly okay with all the war crimes and the ethnic cleansing you did in the Old Testament, no problem, what happens to me after I'm dead? Because if I, swear allegiance to Jesus, what happens here? Because quite frankly, if the cost of going to heaven is that I'm no longer autistic, I don't want to go to heaven. I will die on this hill. Being autistic is who I am. And actually, it's fundamentally good to be who I am, with, some notable exceptions. I have quite a few flaws. But I think this is part of the bigger problem with not, this is not a religion problem. Neurotypical supremacy. I'm doing a whole PhD on how science creates neurotypical supremacy, and it flows in through all the other disciplines and it becomes the dominant narrative. But as we have clearly seen in this video, it's not the only form of neurotypical supremacy. But, I would like to be able to broaden my scope, but unfortunately, my uni only allows me to do 80,000 words for a PhD, while my sibling has 100,000 words, and this is me getting off topic. But I am still cross about this. Because I like to rant. But look, guys, the point is really that she has this idea that autism is this thing which is adjacent to humanity. If you remove the autism, you get her idealized version of a human. And that being autistic is inherently undesirable is not just a Christian problem or a scientific problem, it's a wide societal problem, and it needs to be fixed. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I wish to see you again soon.